Thank you. Welcome to the Wet Bandits Podcast, Season 2. Everyone, even those of you on Periscope. This is very exciting. Look, we're going to break the cocoon. We're going to break the cocoon here right off the bat. Everyone on Periscope watched the first 15 minutes of us talking and not recording, which has happened before in the Jagged Little Pill episode from Season 1. Except luckily that we didn't do the same thing this time. That time we recorded like an hour before I realized that I had stopped the recording. So anyway, I blew it. We had a little snafu, but I'm going to explain what's all the new toys, and then we'll move from there. Sorry, Periscope, go to the refrigerator or something. Get something to eat. All right, so why is Wet Bandits Podcast Season 2 so exciting? There's many reasons why. One, we're on Periscope, so we will be shooting this live. That will be the uncut, uncensored, lots of screw-ups, as evidenced already, foreshadowed perhaps at first. Yeah, and just the long version. So 15 minutes longer sometimes. Yeah. We've also got GoPros here, so we're going to be putting these on YouTube's. That's going to be the second longest version. That's because with these new toys that we have, we will be we will be listening to songs in their entirety during the episode. People on the podcast, the traditional podcast, you won't hear that because we'll cut it down for you because that's the polite and probably better thing to do. But on YouTube, we'll try to make it entertaining for you. But anyway, that will be a little more edited, but mostly uncut also. This is where the term cocoon comes into play. Periscopers watched us develop this term. It's the podcast version of breaking the fourth wall. To break the cocoon for you listeners of the podcast, what we were talking about was in Season 1, we were very slick with the effects and the splicing and the mixing. And what we would do is we would say, and now we're going to listen to a clip from The Color and the Shape. And we'd be like, here we go. And then while we were actually recording the podcast, Sam and I would just stare blankly at each other for about 30 seconds and nothing would happen. And then I would put that bit in the song, or put that bit of the song into the podcast later. And yeah, so we weren't actually ever listening to anything. Sometimes we pretended we did. Sometimes we'd just be like, But we'd always know what we were sort of listening to, but we weren't actually listening to it. Now, in Season 2, we will be. It's very exciting. And it's hopefully going to allow this whole process to be much easier for us, and we can do a season that's more than 10 episodes long and then take shorter than like an 8-month break between seasons.
Is that long?
I think it is. I think it's pretty long. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like the podcast version of Stranger Things. Oh. Like, how long has the break been between Season 2 and 3?
I have no idea.
It's going to be like over a year and a half.
Damn.
And I don't know that, but it feels like it.
Feels like it.
Right? Okay. So that's everything we needed to go over about Season 1 to Season 2. We need to clink. We only did that to Periscopers. Clink.
Clink.
Again, video will see the clink. We need to say the clink for the podcast.
Let's do another clink for 2 clinks for Season 2.
All right. Clink. Oh, this is so great right now. Oh, you know what I should have done?
What?
Something else. I hope we don't ever need to look anything up on the internet. Oh, you've got your computer.
Boom.
We both have computer. Okay, I might have to have you look some things up for us.
All right, man.
All right. So, Season 1 of the podcast was fantastic.
Dude, it was.
It was really great. Some episodes were better than others. I recently looked at the downloads. Do you want to know what the most popular episode from Season 1 was?
Which one?
I want you to guess.
Dude, the Jagged Little Pill.
That's like third now.
Okay.
I think Kevin Brennan from The Fairweathered, I think has been getting his friends to like download it more recently because all of Kevin's episodes have like shot up in the last month. We haven't done anything in the last, or maybe it's Russian bots, and they're after Kevin. Kevin, be careful. But actually, it's the What's the Story Morning Glory episode is the most popular one.
Big album too. So.
Yes, and it's a sophomore album. Which brings us to the theme of season 2. Season 1 did not have a theme, but we liked to just look at cool albums and go over them. How did we pick them? Oh yeah, I would like randomly choose them.
Oh yeah.
I'd like pick a number between 1 and 300. Let's say I picked like 22. I'd find the 22nd album in my like CD collection, and that's how I would pick. Now sometimes we'd have them suggested by people. Like Jagged Little Pill, I didn't own it until Bandits suggested it. Thank you, Jamie and Emily. But yeah, so that's how we chose them. Now this time we had a much more focused theme. And that theme is going to be sophomore albums, because this is our sophomore season. We're going to do sophomore albums. Lots of times, there's a little thing. I don't know if it's sports or music or both or what, but you've heard of this sophomore slump? Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Have you heard of this? Yeah. The sophomore slump?
Sophomore slump.
Yeah. It's where you kick it real with a tasty groove on album 1, and then you blow it on album 2. Well, let me tell you, what we've done is painstakingly gone through our album collection and determined the 5 worst sophomore albums from the 90s and the 5 best. And by painstakingly, I mean we haven't even decided on all of them yet. That's not that's not entirely true, but Sam, you don't know what I've chosen yet, have you?
No.
Now, that doesn't mean that I am unilaterally deciding for everyone what these are.
I could probably guess one.
Oh, for sure, but don't guess it yet.
Yeah, I'm not.
We'll tell them later. I have a whole list.
So is the 5th best or 5th worst, is that just a terrible album or like the biggest letdown?
This, I'm so glad you brought it up. We did not plan this, but I wanted you to ask me that. Because I think for these purposes, it's got to be the biggest letdown.
Yeah.
Because for one thing, none of these are really that bad. You know, I'm sure I can find some crappy band's second album and be like, that was shit.
That was a slump.
That was a sophomore slump. That was worse than a sophomore. What did we call it?
I don't know.
Oh no, what's the term? Not a slump.
Cocoon?
No. Is it called a sophomore slump? No.
I think that's what you said before.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Guys, I think I just had a stroke on the air. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, sophomore slump. Okay. That is what it is. That's called a slump. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to edit that out of the pod. Am I right?
You are right.
Okay. So, anyway. Where were we?
We were talking about, is it the 5th?
Yeah.
The absolute worst or
the
letdown?
No, it's the letdown. And the one we're going to talk about today, I think, is evidence of that. But, yeah, it's the letdown. Because certainly there's worse albums overall.
Right.
But we got to look at how good the first one was and how we anticipated the second one was. Because the first one doesn't have to be awesome in comparison to the second one. It just has to, have been big enough that people were really excited about the second one. As for the 5th best and on down, I don't think we have to relate that to the first one at all. Like, for example, let's do something from, let's do Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Like Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. Like, just because Led Zeppelin 1 is great doesn't make Led Zeppelin 2 any worse. And I don't know which you prefer, but it's kind of like, I don't know, which do you think is better, 1 or 2?
See, and I wanted to talk about this, but I didn't know if we wanted to talk about it before we talk about one of the albums or after we talk about it.
Do you want to just table it till we get there? And then we can talk about Led Zeppelin or whatever?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. This is what happens when we don't plan anything ahead of time. Okay? So let's just start revealing them.
All right.
And then I have a little question for you at the end.
All right.
We're going to do a little bit.
Bit.
Yeah, we're going to do a little bit at the end. It's going to be a fun bit. Okay? So, without further ado, I say we start with the worst.
Yeah.
The
I
fifth
agree.
worst album of Sophomore album, the slump. The fifth worst sophomore slump of the 90s. And that's going to be a little album called Title of Record by Filter. May only be the fifth worst sophomore album, definitely the worst name.
Definitely.
Title of Record. That is someone who thinks he's being funny, but like totally whiffs. Like, let's just name a Title of Record. That's how little we care.
Yeah. That's
Right?
such a... Nah. I was going to say, like, that's such a 90s thing, kind of.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Probably is. I don't know. But anyway, terrible name for a record. This is a good example of a record I think is the only reason it's in the running is because it was highly anticipated. Have you ever listened to any Filter record before I sent you this one?
No.
Okay. What did you think of this one?
Title of Record?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Did you were there any redeeming qualities? How would you describe it?
It's kind of what's on, like, it's kind of like popular rock right now.
I was going to say, it actually fits in well now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say it aged well because it's not good, but it definitely fits in today's music.
Like, yeah, hard rock, whatever. Yeah.
Right. With a little bit, it's a little too industrial for now, right? Like, it definitely has a lot of synths and, like I said, industrial stuff.
And I just wasn't a big fan of the lyrics.
They're terrible.
Like, they got this power riff, and he's saying, like, I can't even remember, but...
Yeah, honestly, I didn't examine the lyrics too much to this, because usually I don't care. But I'll tell you what, I don't know. I just don't like him is the other thing. Like, I don't like Richard Patrick.
Dude, fuck that guy.
Right? Right. Okay. So we're not fans. You know, there are going to be a couple of these worst albums that I'm going to have to stick up for a little bit, but not this one. I've owned this for a long time, and I listened to it.
Oh, yeah?
But it was never like in my, I don't know, CD player in my car, which back in the 90s and early 2000s when you would drive around, and that's when I listened to my jams.
Yeah.
If you didn't make it in my CD player, you weren't that good of an album, you know?
Yeah.
So, anyway.
But I will admit the riffs are good.
Yeah. Some of it is not the worst.
Yeah, the riffs are...
Yeah. Anyway.
Riffage.
Let's get into it. Ooh, you know what I meant to do? I meant to think of 90s terms to call these songs rather than just saying the worst or the best.
Yeah.
Okay? Did you think of any?
No.
Okay, we're going to call the worst the bogus song.
Bogus.
All right? It's probably a little 80s too.
Uh-huh.
But people said that in the 90s, right?
I don't know.
Who knows? We'll come up with better ones for next time. So, Sam, I always ask... By the way, I'm going to propose to you right now.
All right.
Would you just be my podcast co-host?
Dude, I will be your pod.
Will you accept this
I will accept.
handshake? Okay. So, because you weren't on every episode.
No.
And so I need a co-host. And the reason I'm saying this now is because I was about to say, I always let the guest go first.
Uh-huh.
But since I want you to like actually be the co-host, I don't want to do it that way. However, since I chose the album in this case, I think you should go first.
Okay.
So what did you think was, and if you listened to the previous season, we'd always do best song, worst song, hidden gem. And we're still going to do that with the fifth best album from the sophomore album from the 90s. But for this, we don't like it. So why struggle finding the best song from this album and the hidden gem? Let's just talk about what sucked. So, what's the most bogus song from Title of Record in your opinion?
Bogus?
Yes.
Dude.
Well, okay, hold on. Let me back up. We were only choosing really from the singles.
Yeah.
So, of the two, which is worse? we've got Welcome to the Fold.
Dude, welcome to the fold, bro.
Okay, here we go. Well, I think you're shit.
Hey, okay.
So you hate that song, eh?
I don't hate it.
Okay.
But it's just I don't really think it's special in any way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. However, it's not my least favorite. In fact, on the whole album, it's probably my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I think the riff's pretty hard. You know the.
Yeah. Dude, I like it.
Yeah.
But you know, listening to the current rock now, it's like nothing stands out to me.
Yeah. There's no like evolution.
Yeah.
There's no like. It's almost like the problem is that it could come out today.
Right.
Because and granted, I guess you could argue, well, it was different then.
Yeah. Right.
But it wasn't that different.
But yeah, it's just my perspective. I
Yeah,
guess.
I mean, it was 9 Inch Nails with guitars.
Yeah.
And I know that's selling Richard Patrick. Well, I already said I don't like him, but I think that's just because he's a jerk. Like musically, that doesn't, maybe he's fine, but he was the guitar player for 9 Inch Nails for like half a minute. He actually wasn't even on. I don't think he ended up on 9 Inch Nails' debut album at all on the recordings. He was just their touring guitar player.
Oh, really?
And then when Trent Reznor was working on Downward Spiral, he told Richard Patrick, like, hey man, go start a band for yourself while I'm working on this. And that's Filter. And then I think Filter kind of took off for him and he just left.
Yeah.
Because he's more of a guitar guy than Trent Reznor was. Mm-hmm. And so that's how you end up with this band. And he's just, and maybe that song's guitar heavy. There's a few guitar heavy songs in here, but like we were saying, it fits in so well now. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, what would you point to in this that's like, oh, that's interesting or unique? And there's really nothing. Mm-hmm. As much as I don't like him, his voice is sort of unique. Like he's got this like high pitched like wail that I've never seen him live. I have no real interest. Mm. But if he can control that, that's pretty impressive, I guess.
Yeah. I thought the vocals sounded good.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my favorite song on the whole album. It gets Sam's most bogus. Now again, partly because we figure we're not trying to get people into this album. Although you can check it out if you want to see if we're up a creek or not. But we're really just looking at the singles, and there were only 2.
Yeah.
And since Welcome to the Fold was one, Take a Picture was the other one. And I had to pick which was worse. Clearly, Take a Picture was my least favorite. So here, take a little listen. And that was Take a Picture. So you like that one better.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would not expect that.
No, I would not.
Yeah.
This can go lower.
No, I don't think so, bro.
It's cool. I'll just pick this up. Whoops. Sam lost his headphones for the people listening on podcast. Here's my thing with Take a Picture. It is so boring.
Dude, it is totally elevator music, man.
Yeah. Yes. I've never thought of it that way. Sorry to yell. But yeah, it is elevator music.
I picture it like in an animated Disney movie.
Yeah,
Like
it
I
fits.
don't know, it's about like the Fox and the Hound.
Yeah, but not in 1998 or whenever this came out. This was like one of the most popular songs on the radio. Way more popular than Welcome to the Fold. Because obviously it's crossover, right?
Yeah,
They probably played it on WNCI. So it was on the Blitz, which back in the day didn't just play like metal.
Yeah.
So it was on the Blitz, and it was probably on WNCI, like I said, QFM 96.
Yeah.
And all the like softer stuff. And I liked it too. Like back then, I was in college when, a couple years after this came out, and my roommate and I, shout out to Ben Webb, we used to have a list of tunes that we called bedtime songs.
Bedtimes.
Yeah. And we would go to bed, like lay in bed, and Ben would choose bedtime songs. We'd have a little bedtime playlist. Take a Picture was a staple of the bedtime playlist.
Yeah.
But it is totally boring. It's so monotonous. Like, it's only one chord.
Yeah, yeah.
And so playing it would be just as boring as listening to it. It just does nothing for me. Like, I could barely stand to listen to it for like a minute. I don't know why people liked it so much, including me. I don't know why I liked it, but people did.
I don't know. It kind of has that beat that kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
The money beat.
Yeah. When we were sound checking for this, that's right, we sound checked for this. We could not stop getting that beat from blowing out our monitor for the Periscope people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Man, that song I just think sucks. History, I don't think looks kindly on Take a Picture.
Yeah.
A little background on it if you want to hear it.
Well, I knew the song.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Which I don't expect you to, but...
Yeah. No, I recognize that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
because it probably wasn't a Disney movie.
I don't think it was.
Yeah.
But it could have been.
It could have been, man.
Speaking of hearing Filter in strange places, I've got two little bits to tell you about. So, Take a Picture is... Well, Filter had to go on a break after this because guess what? Spoiler alert, Richard Patrick was an alcoholic, like every famous musician.
Yeah.
And Take a Picture is, if you listen to the lyrics, it's about him getting drunk on a plane and like being out of control, right? So, do you want to take my picture? Because I won't remember. Like that's literally what he's talking about. That's not that interesting. And I think a lot of people probably could have assumed that, right? But what people might not have known is that Richard Patrick is the brother of Robert Patrick. Do you know who Robert Patrick is?
No.
Have you seen a little movie called Terminator 2?
No.
Okay.
Dude, I'm sorry, man.
I had an idea for this season of the podcast also.
Okay.
In addition to these albums, which are only going to last us like 5 episodes. If we talk long enough, maybe we'll split them into a couple.
Yeah.
But really, this is only 5 eps of material. I think we should watch a movie. And not on the podcast, but we should watch a movie and then get on the podcast and talk about it. And that movie might have to be Terminator 2.
Okay.
Because 1, it effing rules. And 2, it has Richard Patrick's brother Robert in it as the T-1000.
Yeah.
So like when you see a cartoon or a movie where a villain is chasing someone and their body just like moves through metal bars, you don't get that joke?
Oh.
That's what it comes from. Terminator 2 is the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to see it.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I don't mean to belittle you in front of the listeners and the camera.
Dude. Come on, man.
You can belittle me if there's some movie that we bring up that I haven't seen that I need to see.
What about Pokemon the movie, bro?
I haven't seen it. Belittle me. Belittle me. Is that a 90s film?
Yeah, dude.
All right. That might be funnier.
Dude, actually, Blessed Union of Souls.
Uh-huh.
They have a song in there. Brother, my brother.
Who's the brother?
I don't know. It's like
Pikachu?
Dude, well, if we want to get into this, man.
Yes, we do.
So Mewtwo, I don't know if you know who Mewtwo is.
Mewtwo is bad.
Yeah, he's a bad Pokemon.
I actually know a little bit, I think, of this story.
Okay.
Can I tell you what I think it is?
Yeah.
So what I think it is, and you can laugh if I think Mewtwo, the premise of the movie is like Mewtwo becomes aware that he's like a slave.
He's like a clone.
Okay. Of Mew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is he evil?
So he clones the trainer's Pokemon, and he makes him more powerful. And then there's a scene in the movie where Mewtwo's clones are pretty much kicking the other Pokemon's ass, and they get sad, and then Ash turns into a statue, and then there are tears.
Why is Mewtwo bad? What's he mad about?
I don't know, man. I can't remember.
Okay. Okay.
He woke up mad.
You know what? He was birthed bad. Well, okay, we're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah.
So when I walked my 5 kilometers and Mewtwo hatched out, he was bad. He's probably a 10K egg.
You hatched a Mewtwo?
Hell no.
Yeah.
I was just going back to
Mewtwo doesn't come from an egg.
No. I was just trying to, work in some Pokemon Go knowledge in there.
Yeah, he comes from a laboratory.
Well, he would if he came from an egg. Clearly a 10K egg.
Is that long?
Yeah, that's the longest egg, if I remember. So anyway, back to the podcast. The last thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to belittle you again, did you ever watch the documentary I asked you to watch numerous times called Hired Gun?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Do you remember the filter bit in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, did that make you hate Richard Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone out there who hasn't seen Hired Gun on Netflix, watch that shit. It's good, isn't it?
It is good, yeah.
Yeah, everyone I forced to watch it likes it, including my wife and parents.
Uh-huh.
And they don't always like this stuff, okay? So if you haven't seen it, watch it. There is a little, and fill it in if I leave anything out, but they have the bass player from Filter in there, who seems like a very affable, very nice guy. And he basically says that Richard Patrick wouldn't pay them. Like, he paid them crap. Obviously he paid them something, but he paid them crap. And when he would and he also wouldn't let them take part in like signings and stuff. And Richard Patrick's thing was basically like, hey man, they're here to see me. They're not here to see you. Like, if you want to get more money and get more fame, then go make your own band. Which, like, I get that. Like,
right.
He's right. However, there is just the level of like no appreciation for not being able to play all 5 instruments.
Yeah.
Like okay, if that's the way you want to be, fine, but Richard Patrick should understand, like, people don't want to come see Richard Patrick by himself. Like, yeah, Richard Patrick is the person that fans want to see when they're in line to sign something. But they're not paying tickets to see Richard Patrick stand up there alone playing karaoke. Right? They come to see a damn band. So, like, he owes them something. And maybe Richard Patrick thinks the minimum pay that he gives them is worth that. Like, he pays them what he thinks they're worth. And, I think he kind of even alludes to the fact that he could get anybody, which is probably also true. Like, there are a bunch of people out there.
Yeah.
Filter's music is not difficult. He can probably find anybody off the street that would be willing to do it. It's just a jerk move. Like, it's just a complete jerk move. And so that's really why I was turned off by Richard Patrick. Richard Patrick is also in the documentary and basically says the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's just a complete dickhead. Yeah. So that was interesting. And do you remember what the bass player's job is now?
Dude, yes.
What does he do now?
Is it Carl's Jr.?
Yes.
The voice for the commercial?
He's the voice for the Carl's Jr. commercials and Hardee's, which is great. I think that's so funny. So I think we're good to end it on that. Yeah. We're good to end, not take a picture, title of record on that. And you know what I think we're going to do now? Remember when I alluded to the little bit we're going to do? Yeah. I think we put the bit in now.
All right.
I think we put the bit in right now. This bit is going to be called Craig's Crazy Questions. And if you're looking at this spelled out, make sure you spell questions with a C because we want it to be CCC. Craig's Crazy Questions. CWESTIONS. Craig's Crazy Questions. Who's Craig? Craig's my coworker at my day job.
Uh-huh.
And Craig loves, well, I think he loves, or he maybe just humors me, but Craig often asks me really fun music questions for me to like ponder.
Yeah.
They're very difficult. I thought about prepping you with this because obviously I know what the question is. But to be honest, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I had a little moment of panic as I was talking to you, like, oh, crap, I haven't thought about what my answer will be. So you're going first, unless you want me to go first.
What do I have
I know you don't know what the question is yet,
Okay.
but you have to decide if you're answering first or me.
I will answer first.
Yes, I love it. You're so brave. So Craig's crazy question number 1.
Okay.
If you could have one musician's, I'm going to give you time to think about this, by the way. If you could have one musician's ability, who would it be? Now, wait a second. You can only choose, like if you're choosing Chris Cornell, you have to choose his voice or his guitar playing.
Yeah.
You can't be Chris Cornell, okay?
Ability.
Yeah, so you got to take his vocal ability, guitar, bass, or drums. Okay, you got to pick one of those. Everything else you have is your crappy self. So again, to reiterate, you can't be like, okay, I'll take Eddie Vedder's voice, and all of a sudden you also play guitar like Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
Okay, Eddie Vedder's a shitty guitar player, but I'm just saying. But for the sake of argument, James Hetfield. If you want to like, I'm James Hetfield's voice, and you happen to play guitar like James Hetfield, that's a pretty sweet deal,
dude.
But you can't do that. You have to pick James Hetfield's guitar or voice. So I'm going to let you think about that while I explain why this question is a little different for us. I think this question actually fits a little better for the listener to think about, the non-musician listener, because I already play guitar. Sam already plays drums. Sam's probably not going to be like, well, Sam could be like, well, I want to be John Bonham's drum ability.
Yeah.
But he could also take it a different way and be like, well, it might be kind of sweet to be a drummer who can also effing shred.
Right.
So maybe he's like, I'm cool with my drum abilities. I want to be able to shred. Same with me. Like, I already play guitar, but it might be sweet to be an awesome drummer. Okay? So maybe, I don't know how we want to look at this. What angle are you thinking you're going to take?
I'm thinking of a guitar player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pick a drummer after that.
Okay.
Okay, and I think I'm going to do both. I'm going to pick a guitar player and someone else because I think it's only fair kind of that we pick the instrument we actually play. That makes it a little more difficult. Like the drummer will be more difficult for you, the guitar player will be more difficult for me, I think.
Right.
Okay, so you go.
All right, so I'm going to have to say Eddie Van Halen, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't argue.
Yeah. I was going to go with Jimmy Page, but Jimmy Page is badass, but Eddie Van Halen, man, can just play like anything. Not dissing on Jimmy.
Right.
But, you know, he just looks badass doing it. He puts a cigarette in the guitar.
Now, that cigarette thing, you're going to have to learn to do that yourself.
Yeah.
That doesn't come along with the guitar playing.
Okay. So
I'm sure you could figure it out. Yes.
Okay.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
And a good reasoning too. Do you want me, since that was the one that's not a drummer, I'll pick the one that's not a guitar player. Right? If I could play drums, and then granted, I don't know as much about drums as you do about guitar, because you play a little guitar and I play no drums. I think I'd pick Chad Smith.
Dude, yeah.
Because he can, for the same sort of reason that you'd pick Eddie Van Halen, like, I feel like Chad Smith can almost play any style well.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
He's not, oddly enough, he's not my favorite drummer. He's really good. But my favorite drummer is Chad Gracie from Live. Because I just feel like he rocks real hard. Kind of like you like Dave Grohl, because he rocks real hard. Chad Gracie, I feel like, rocks really hard. I'm sure I'll talk about him again in future podcasts, but I think if I needed to pick to be able to play like a guy, Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think people know where Eddie Van Halen plays.
Right.
Okay. So that's my pick. Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers and maybe more famously Chickenfoot.
Dude, Chickenfoot's badass,
I
man.
love Chickenfoot.
Yeah.
Okay, so now pick your drummer.
My drummer. Dude, Chad Smith, honestly, he's badass. Or John Bonham.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain to listeners and me, because I don't get it. I don't get the John Bonham thing.
Yeah.
Not like I get that he's good.
For me, it's more of his like approach.
How so?
Because he goes with this kind of simplistic, basic thing, but there's so much more detail into what he's playing, even though if it sounds simple. But then he plays something like Moby Dick, and he has that ability, but he chooses not to play. He chooses to play the song and not the drums, I guess, if that makes sense.
No.
He doesn't choose to go crazy every song. He plays like something like Kashmir.
Gotcha.
And it's just a basic groove.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you just mean he's not Neil Peart.
Yeah.
or Neil Peart.
Yeah.
No, are you a Neil Peart fan?
I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you feel like the rap he gets is warranted, where he kind of overplays?
No, not for that style of music.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I wanted. That reminds me of something else. At the end of this episode, we're going to talk about what we're listening to now.
Okay.
That's usually something we do.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, going back to John Bonham. Actually, what we were talking about was people who overplay. Can you give me an example of someone who you think is just like over the top too much drum wise? Travis Barker.
But yeah.
But the music calls for it.
The music calls for it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of anybody on the top of my head.
Yeah,
that's like a lot of metal stuff, like today's metal. I think that's over the top.
Oh yeah.
Like the blast beats. Nothing against it, but I just think it's over the top.
Yeah. Okay. So now I got to pick a guitar player, and if I was gonna pick a guitar player, in my head, I just had like an epiphany where I was like, maybe I should pick a songwriter. Like, does that count? I think that doesn't count though. That's a whole other
like Tom Petty
branch.
Man?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Like if I really wanted to hit it big, be a songwriter. Yeah. But I'd pick Tom Petty, and that's the end of it. So let's not talk about it anymore. If I'm picking a guitar player, I think even though I love Van Halen, I love Eddie Van Halen, and I love Jerry Cantrell, and I like Alice in Chains is my favorite, I think I'd pick Joe Satriani.
Ooh.
And only because, and again, thinking about Chickenfoot, only because and you kind of made me think of this, he is an example of a guy who can absolutely overplay.
Right.
But he really doesn't.
Especially
usually.
in Chickenfoot.
In Chickenfoot, he really holds it back. But when he tears it up, it is always awesome.
Yeah. Like
awesome. His tone is so good. He does all kinds of like crazy stuff I would never think of. Like tuning the guitar down a whole step, but capoing at the second fret, which for people who don't play guitar, that's essentially keeping the guitar in the same key by adding 2 steps. So you could essentially do nothing to the guitar, or he's taking the long way to get to the same point. But the reason you would do that is because it does change the tone slightly. Yeah. So we're not talking about the notes, we're talking about how those notes sound. And that is a crazy idea that I never would have thought of, but is sweet. And it totally works. Yeah. So he does all kinds of neat stuff. He is he's a baller. He is great. So, but he comes from a line of that style of guitar player who, when I was in high school, my guitar player in my band, he had a name for it, but essentially I can't remember what it was, but it was basically guitar players who wrote TV theme songs, like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, guys like Eric Johnson. Like their songs sounded like TV theme songs, and it really, that's pretty accurate. Which it's basically like guitar prog rock kind of, Dream Theater stuff like that. Like I get what he was saying, but Satriani is just a little different. He's tasteful. I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, that wraps up Craig's crazy questions for week 1. Sam and I will record a theme song for Craig's crazy questions and get it in here. All right.
Let's do it.
Cool. Back to sophomore albums. So the 5th best sophomore album of the 90s, in my opinion, is maybe the most underrated 90s album. It maybe, in fact, doesn't belong in the top 5 sophomore albums, but I think so many people don't think about this album that it's our duty to have it in here. Our duty to have it in here. That album is Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. That's the one with the babies, the cherubs on it. Okay? It doesn't actually say purple on there, except for in like Chinese letters.
I heard that when it was released, the LP, the record was actually purple. I don't know if that's accurate or if that's something new or...
I don't know, but I would believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm in favor of just assuming that's accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to rearrange some things here. Oh no, I don't. So do you want to say anything about this album before we get to the songs?
I think it was a good choice by Stone Temple Pilots to kind of make that change.
Change from what? Because you're hitting on exactly what I would say too. Because we're comparing it to Core, right?
Right.
Okay.
Which is bad,
Core's their first album.
ass rock,
right?
And now they're kind of, it's still rocking, but it's more towards a bigger audience. With a lot of the grunge bands in like 1994 took that acoustic approach as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like every other song has an acoustic guitar, or so.
Yeah, you don't hear that on Core.
And especially with that producer, I forget.
Was it Brendan O'Brien?
Yeah, who was kind of, was he popular? Or,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So they were trying to get big,
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is what I was somewhat saying at the beginning. What is the sophomore album? It's like the band is trying to keep their loyal fans, but trying to move in another direction.
Yeah. That's true. And I don't, who knows what was going on in their head. Maybe everything you're saying is exactly what they're thinking.
Yeah.
My like the feeling I have for Stone Temple Pilots, I think, is clouded in a good way. Clouded by the fact that I think they get such this weird bad rap for being Pearl Jam ripoffs.
Really?
Yeah. See, this is great that you're here because, like, you're not really a child of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
You like the music now, but you didn't grow up when I grew up, and like that's just a thing. Like people think that Stone Temple Pilots sound just like Pearl Jam. Not at all. Not at all. Not as much as a lot of other bands, anyway. Even Core. Like, Core does not sound... Core is pretty grungy.
Yeah.
Like
Pearl Jam is more like a Reno rock, 70s
100%.
style.
100% Pearl Jam is an arena rock band that happened to get popular at the same time as the grunge bands.
I mean, there's tons of albums that... What was it, 91? Where all those albums, like 10, Core...
So 10...
Nevermind.
10, Nevermind. Those were 91.
Yeah.
I think Core and another one you said. Did you say another one? Maybe not. Core was 92, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think. Facelift from Alice in Chains was 90. So like they were kind of all in the same, area. But the Core, it's just lazy. It's so lazy to pigeonhole Stone Temple Pilots as a Pearl Jam ripoff.
Yeah.
Like, and Scott Weiland did sing differently on Core than he does in this album on Purple. It's definitely more melodic in in Purple, and Core is a little like more angry. I am smelling like a rose, like, and maybe a little more Eddie Vedder.
Yeah,
but I don't think that the cohorts, like the the peers, Stone Temple Pilots peers, think that Scott Weiland is an Eddie Vedder ripoff.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that a lot of them think Scott Weiland is a better melody writer than Eddie Vedder is, right? His nickname was something like the Melody Maker or the Melody
really?
Man or something. Like, people respect Scott Weiland as like not just a singer, but also as a writer of tunes.
Yeah.
All right, the part you whistle, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they get a super bad rap, and this album is super underappreciated.
Super.
Well, I mean, just by the fact of how many singles are on there, for one thing.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so I say we get to it now, because we'll cover most of the stuff that we want to cover as we talk about these songs. So, raddest song from Purple for you.
Raddest?
Yeah, that's another word for the best.
Okay.
Well, no. Best single, right? That's how we did it.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's just best song. Best song. I've already forgotten the format before, because your favorite could still be a hidden gem.
Okay.
But in your case, at least based on what you told me before, it is not. This one was a single.
Yeah, Unglued would be mine, yeah.
That song is sweet. That song is sweet.
Rock.
I should stop muting the mics. But no, we don't want to pick up the vulgar things we say while those songs are playing. Yeah, that song is so sweet. Well, why do you like it? Why is it your favorite?
Do that riff, man.
Just the riff?
And the drums.
Yeah. What about the drums?
And it's catchy, man.
So catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't think about that song.
Right.
But it rocks. The chorus is good. It's just a sweet jam. Sweet jam.
Dude, that is a jam.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Crank that on 11, man.
Right. Mm-hmm. So are we ready for mine then?
Yeah.
I think the best song on the album, as cliche as it is it's got to be Interstate Love Song.
Yeah.
You get the idea, people. That song is just... I say this about a lot of songs, so maybe that lessens the impact of what I say when I say this. But to me, if that song came out in place of Smells Like Teen Spirit, like, Stone Temple Pilots might be the bigger band.
Really?
Yeah, that song, it's got better crossover. Maybe it's not hard enough.
Yeah. I mean, Smells Like Teen Spirit is like a song that would start a revolution.
Sorry, I did not have your mic on, but now I do. Yeah, it did. And maybe you're right. I just think that song is, like, people forget that how good it is.
Yeah.
Like, people, I don't know. I think when you think of the best songs of the 90s, Interstate Love Song doesn't get thrown in there. But if you actually played the best songs of the 90s for people,
Mhm.
and they could pick their favorite, it would be way up there.
Yeah, people would, like, not in a bad way, but forget about that song.
Mhm.
They'd be like, oh, yeah.
Right.
you know?
Right. Yep. It's just such a good, like, sing-along song.
Yeah.
It's got the music so good. You can drive to it.
Mm.
You know, it's a good drive-in song. Not just because it's called Interstate Love Song, but it's just like a good drive-in song. Yeah. So super underrated. Let's talk about our most bogus. These are the ones that we don't like. It's hard to find on this one. But what's your least favorite song in here?
Mine is Still Remains, man.
Yeah, I know. Let's play a little of
You
that.
can tell.
Okay, I like listening to the jams, but we should move through these a little faster. Why don't you like that one, Sam?
Dude, that is the definition of a filler song.
Oh my God. Okay, please go on.
Dude. Nah, it's not a bad song. It's just they made the song to fill up the album.
Oh my God. Okay. Still Remains was so close to being my hidden gem.
Oh yeah?
When I think of this album, I think of that song.
Uh-huh.
The chorus, the verse is boring.
Yeah.
Monotonous. Let's not say boring. It's monotonous. But like a lot of songs that I like, sometimes I think you gotta have, not got to, but it suits the song to have one part that's either kind of bad or kind of boring to make it obvious how good a different part is.
Yeah.
The chorus to that song is definitely my favorite of any on this album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but part of it is the lyrics. And a lot of it is speculation on my part. A lot. But the lyrics, he says, sing a song and pick a yellow nectarine or something like that. Then he says, take a bath, I'll drink the water that you leave. If you should die before me, ask if you can bring a friend. Which is like so lame. But I mean the if you should die before me part.
Yeah.
But to take a bath, I'll drink the water that you leave is more interesting and more like, okay, he likes her. And I think there's something like the speculation part I'm talking about is part of me thinks that you write a line like the nectarine part followed by a line by like, take a bath, I'll drink the water that you leave. And then if you should die before me, ask if you can bring a friend. I think what you say is like through all stages of love or a relationship or whatever, that's how much he cares about this person. So what I'm saying is he represents the most like cheesy like childhood part of this relationship as the if you should die before me, ask if you can bring a friend. Like that's what a teenager says to their boyfriend or girlfriend, right? But like the other stuff is a little more adult and a little more unique and a little more like this person has some experience. They actually thought about what they were saying. Yeah. So I don't know. I've always liked that song. So it definitely is not my least favorite. My least favorite is a single. I think this song is just meh. It's kind of boring.
Driving faster in my car, falling farther from just what we are. Smoke a cigarette and lie some more. These conversations kill. Falling faster in my car. Time to take her home. Her dizzy head is consciously. Time to take her ride. It leaves today. No conversation. Time to take her home. Her dizzy head is consciously. Time to wait too long. To wait too long. To wait too long.
It's Big Empty, folks. That's my least favorite song on the album. That's it. I was trying to slide the volume and I accidentally just slid the track. Anyway, I'm 1.5 beers in. So Big Empty to me, like, I get it. It's a single. The chorus is good, but I mean, come on. You know how I just said that sometimes you got to sit through a bad verse or a bad, bridge or something to get to an awesome chorus?
Yeah.
That chorus is not worth the wait. I mean, it's good, but those verses are so boring.
See, that the verse makes that drum feel badass.
Yeah. Yeah, but couldn't they have done that drum fill like with a little less like droning before that?
I don't know.
Couldn't they have just like done a different verse and then just dropped everybody out just so he could do the fill?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they didn't write the song for the fill. Like, they wrote the song and then Eric Kretz? I think it's Kretz. He put the fill in.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not the point. We're not here to talk about how that fill happened. What we're here to talk about is how shitty Big Empty is. It's not bad.
Now that was their first single off this album, right?
No.
Because they played it live at the Unplugged.
Oh, yeah? You can, since I don't have internets on this laptop, you can look that up. But I think the first single was Vaseline or Interstate Love Song.
Oh.
I think.
Well, maybe radio. Maybe they might have played it live.
Maybe. Yeah, Wikipedia that crap if you want. And I'll just talk a little bit more. So, for me, Big Empty is just clearly, I obviously I don't like it. It's a chorus. They were like, we've got a great chorus. Let's fill it in with some verse or something. Is Big Empty the first one?
Yeah.
Well,
1993.
Apparently that was the first single. No wonder that album is underappreciated. People listen to that song and then they were like, "This is nothing to write home about." So yeah, that's that. That's my least favorite.
According to Wikipedia.
Of the whole album. So you're telling me if you were going to listen to this whole thing, you'd skip Still Remains, but you'd play...
No, I wouldn't skip Still Remains.
Would you play Big Empty?
I don't know.
Because I would skip the hell out of it.
I don't know. I like that drum fill, man.
All right, you can... I would skip Big Empty. That's the only song on the album I'd skip, is Big Empty.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, moving on. So we like to do... This is my favorite part of any episode, and that is the hidden gems, which we will never find a 90s term for that. We're just going to call it the hidden gem. And a hidden gem is any song from the album that we like that was not a single. Now, this album was filled with singles, okay? So we've already heard Unglued. We've already heard Interstate Love Song. We've already heard Big Empty. Those were all singles. But we also have Vaseline.
Mm-hmm.
I almost did the same thing again, where I just slowly dragged the time back. But no, I got the volume right that time. Oh, what? Are you worried that you're muted?
Dude. Yeah, I thought it was unmuted. Man.
No, and in fact, so we have this new contraption here that records us while we do this. And it's got a lot of red lights and stuff. And I am worried that I muted us. Or I actually am worried that I stopped recording us at one point. But I don't think that happened.
Yeah.
We'll find out later. We'll find out. It could be just a big blank spot in the pod.
Boop.
Boop. Okay, so that was Vaseline. Very close to my favorite song from the album. But a lot of these are very close. So that was one single. One of two singles covered by the Wet Bandits. Here is the last one we haven't mentioned yet.
Have you seen your mother, girl? Has she gone away?
Totally. A lot of these.
Gone away and found the pearl, but the price she pays. Gone. When you wake in the morning, gone. When you find that there's no one sleeping, gone. Pretty Penny was her name. She was loved and we all will miss her. How far will you
Volume down.
Check.
So that was Pretty Penny, which is, for me, it's a better version of Polly. Like, it's not like Polly, but Polly for Nevermind is like the acoustic tune in the middle to give you a break. To me, this is just a better version of that. Like, it's the acoustic song in the middle that gives you a break, but it's so musically weird and neat. You said it kind of sounds like Led Zeppelin, which is totally spot on. Stone Temple Pilots sound much more like Led Zeppelin than they sound like Pearl Jam. Way more.
Yeah, definitely.
What was the cover you were talking about on Howard Stern?
Dancing Days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have heard that as well. Their cover sounds exactly like it.
Yeah.
So it is, there's, I don't know what, I'm just saying they're sweet. That's all.
They're sweet, man.
I mean, Led Zeppelin's kind of like the gold standard, I guess. Not that you should strive to copy Led Zeppelin. In fact, like Heart they do a lot of songs. They cover a lot of Led Zeppelin songs, and I think they're lame. I like Heart, but some of their covers of Led Zeppelin songs, I'm like, come on, like it's a little.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to cover Led Zeppelin.
Yes,
but that Dancing Days cover was one of the few covers.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So.
Definitely holds up, bro.
Anyway, so those are the singles. Pretty Penny, Vaseline, going backwards now. Pretty Penny, Vaseline, Big Empty, Interstate Love Song, Unglued. So we can, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are only 11 songs on the album. So we had 6 others to pick from. What was your hidden gem, Sam?
Dude, kitchenware and candy bars.
Okay. Now this song is 8:05. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. For some reason, I thought they're better.
Sail me down the river. 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 What I wanted is what I wanted. What I wanted is what she wanted.
And just for a second, this is going to be very tedious for podcast listeners and for watchers, but we got to find the sweet part of this song. So I'm going to skip around a little bit.
What I wanted is what I wanted.
That's right. I forgot that song's not actually 8 minutes long. It's that there's a hidden track, very 90s,
Oh, yeah,
the hidden
yeah,
track that
yeah.
comes like in 3 minutes after that or something. Dude, I love that song.
Yeah, it's a good.
In
song.
fact, that would be my hidden gem
dude,
too.
it's heavy, man.
Oh my god! But how after the second chorus they just distort the verse.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so hard.
John.
Like if we were in a band, no, let's put it this a different way. Let's blame the fans. If people just wanted to hear the songs that rocked,
Yeah.
and didn't care that they'd ever heard them before, we would be playing Kitchenware and Candy Bars.
Yeah.
Like that song is so good.
Yeah.
And it rocks so hard in the middle there. And all the rest of it's good too. It's just like one of those songs that is, it's like perfect. It's like
Dude,
a perfect
the
song.
album ends on a tasty treat.
A very tasty treat, like a candy bar. I like what you did there. So the good news for you, because you kind of gave me two hidden gems to like choose from, and Kitchenware and Candy Bars would be mine, but so you're kind of getting two, because I'm gonna
Okay.
pick the other one.
Okay.
So the other one you mentioned to me was Meat Plow, which is also sweet.
Fine place for a day full of breakdowns. Takes more than a meltdown to show us how. Throw a tack on the road, stop the meat plow. Got a bullet, but it ain't mine. They got these pictures of everything to break us down. Yeah, to break me down. They make us hate and we make it bleed. But I got a lover and yeah, she shows me how to understand. Yeah, to understand. I got a brother and well he shows me how to make amends. Yeah, to make amends with it. Take a break from the mousetrap we come home. Takes more than a message to
Yes. Okay. Meat Plow's awesome too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, that's like the mission statement of the album. It's like, this is what we're doing, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's I just called Kitchenware and Candy Bars perfect. Meat Plow's not a perfect song, but it's close. And what I like about both of them is like they're written so well. They're both unique. Like they're both kind of like, especially like Meat Plow has some weird chords in it too, like at the chorus and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what Stone Temple Pilots are masters of, that Pearl Jam doesn't really do, Alice in Chains doesn't really do, Soundgarden didn't really do, Nirvana definitely didn't do, is putting weird chord voicings in songs, like odd sounding things, and with clean tones. Alice in Chains would do it, but it would be so like distorted and metally
Yeah.
that like you don't catch it as much, but you hear it like it's loud and clear with Stone Temple Pilots. So that's a unique thing they did, but also they just give their songs the crappiest names you can think of. Like I get Meat Plows in the like lyrics of the song, but like come on. Do you think people are like excited to look at the track list and be like, "Oh, Meat Plow,
Yeah.
that's cool." Kitchenware and Candy Bars, all right, that sounds like it rocks.
Dude, the 90s were weird, man.
They were. It's very 90s.
Yeah.
I love it. So, yeah. So you kind of get two hidden gems because really, Kitchenware and Candy Bars and Meat Plow were tied for you. I probably would have picked Kitchenware and Candy Bars for
Same.
myself, but
Yeah.
oh my gosh, they're both. I did have a hard time picking.
Yeah.
They're both sweet. So if you don't have Purple from Stone Temple Pilots, or if you've never heard it, or you just think you need to revisit it, my God, do it. Because at worst, one song is bad. Whether you think that Still Remains or Big Empty
Yeah.
or something else. But, like, of the 11 songs, you got to listen to all of them.
Yeah.
They're all good.
It all goes together good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the
Yeah.
album flows well.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff happening on that. Okay. Anyway, so we've made it. I think we've made it through episode 1 of season
1.
2. You have anything you want to say to the people?
Dude, the Bandits rock, man.
It's so hard. You know, and that was maybe one thing I wanted to mention, I guess, was we just had our 5-year anniversary.
Yeah.
That's where the theme song came from, if we didn't talk about that already. I don't have anything queued up to play as we go out, so I'm just going to pick a random part in that in that recording. It could just be rock talk. Who knows what'll show up, but I'm going to start playing it now. But it was, what did you think of that?
The show?
Yeah.
Dude, it was badass.
So many people came.
Dude, yeah.
And that's just like, we just need a big thank you.
Yeah.
Because you did not have to come. The parking around that area is very bad. And we switched the venue on people.
Yeah.
And they still showed up.
They still showed, man.
At one point, they locked the front door.
Yeah.
So more people couldn't come in.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've never had that before.
That's so rock, bro.
So rock. Yes. Yeah. So, anyway, thanks for coming to that. I think that's going to wrap up episode 1.
It's a wrap, bro.
We'll be back next week
Yeah.
with more Craig's Crazy Questions, the 4th worst sophomore album of the 90s, the 4th best sophomore album of the 90s, and that was not a strong fade in, but it went from 0 to 100 really quick. Sam, I only have one piece of advice for you.
What up?
Get wet.
Get wet.
Tomorrow I'll be gone. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Tomorrow I'll be gone.
So I'm going to do one now from, here's another curveball for you guys.